Each of the sheep is portrayed by a voice actor. They don't speak to the human characters, but they speak to one another, sort of like a movie like Homeward Bound.
The conclusion of the film, I think, would have been stronger if they did show us more flashbacks to kind of tie everything together.
Now, spoiler alert, although it's not a spoiler because the trailers reveal this, George does get murdered early on in the movie.
I'm all about like a whodunit movie or who's the murderer type of movie.
We're introduced to several characters in the town who might have a motive.
I really loved the sheep. The sheep were great. Like you said, the actors that played the sheep did a tremendous job.
Behind the scenes, the sheep are helping solve the murder and giving them clues. Welcome to Hate to See It with Mike and Sid, the talk show where we bring you a new movie review each week. I'm Mike.
And I'm Sid, and El Gato's here as well. So
We've got three hosts this week.
yes, we do.
Well, we're a small channel, so we'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and drop a comment with your feedback. That'll really help with engagement and help our channel grow. Also, we encourage you to take advantage of the chapters feature. It lets you skip from segment to segment. You can skip right to the segments that pique your interest. With that all out of the way, Sid, how's it going?
It's going great. It's Sunday. The Mets beat the Yankees.
Ugh.
They won another series at Citi Field. Streaks going on.
The Yanks blew it today.
Yes, they did.
The Mets are terrible, though.
So are the Yankees.
No, the Yankees are going to be in the World Series this year.
We'll see about that. But like I was saying, the Mets have beat the Yankees since 2018 at Citi Field. They have not lost a series.
Well, good for them.
So how are you doing?
They're still a poverty franchise. And I know a thing or two about poverty franchises being a Jets fan.
Yes.
I'm doing well. The weather out here was beautiful this weekend at the Jersey Shore. It actually is starting to feel like summer a week before Memorial Day weekend. People were out and about on their bikes. People were at the beach. There was a lot more traffic than there is the rest of the year outside summertime. So, yeah, it was awesome.
I'm glad you guys are feeling what I feel most of the year.
Well, you don't get that tourism spike. It's just kind of like you have the same thing.
Yeah, I'm talking about weather. I feel perfection most of the year. So I'm glad you guys are also feeling some good weather.
All right. Well, appreciate that. We were talking a little bit about last week how some of our segments are going to be rotating segments, kind of like a late night talk show.
That's right.
So, we have the snack segment, your favorite segment. We
Sure
also have
is.
trailer talk that we often do where we talk about new trailers that we've seen. But they're rotating segments. And this week, we're not going to do those segments because
They're rotating out.
they're rotating out. We didn't really have anything worthwhile. Our movie that we're reviewing this week is called The Sheep Detectives, starring Hugh Jackman and many other actors. And we're going to go right into cast question, that means.
Let's do it. Last week I got it right.
You got it right.
I thought the first one to get it right is done, is the winner. Because this
No.
question is so damn hard. Like I figured like once one of us gets one, it's all she wrote.
No, we'll see. There's a lot more to do. Our friend Cash told us today that he just did the next 8 for us. So we've
Holy
got a
shit.
whole batch of cast questions in the waiting that I think it's going to take us all the way through summer, the end of
Okay.
August, I think, potentially. So it's been fun. You are 1 for 3. I'm 0 for 3. The idea is he's asking us questions that are tangentially related to the movie that we're reviewing this week. So I really don't know what to expect because Sheep Detectives is not something I ever heard of before. I don't think you ever heard of it before either, although it apparently is based off of a book, but I haven't read that book. So why don't we check
But
out?
I was gonna say, Mike, it is interesting because I have no clue where he's gonna go with this question.
No, I
'Cause
don't either.
it doesn't seem like a movie that he'd have any interest
Like,
in.
do you think he would research it? Like, look who's in it, who's, that kind of thing? I would think he probably would like pull up the IMDb page or something.
Yeah, potentially. I could definitely see that.
Or maybe
But
he'll just ask us like facts about sheep. Like,
that is true.
do you watch that show, Peacemaker?
I've heard of it, but wait, no, I have actually with the eagle.
Yeah, with the eagle, and there's that guy, his buddy, Peacemaker's buddy. I forget the character's name. He's this quirky character, but he's obsessed with like animal facts. Like he'll always like talk about animal facts. So maybe we'll just get like an animal fact question.
Let's find out.
But
Roll
let's
the
see.
tape. Roll the question.
Hey, Larry, Balky, thanks for having me back on. It's Cass from Throwbacks with the Technodrome here for a little bit of trivia, and here is today's Cass question. Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Bryan Cranston previously starred together in Seinfeld as Elaine Bennis and Tim Whatley, respectively. True or false? Elaine regifted the label maker that Whatley gave her.
All right. It's a simple true or false, so we've each got a 50-50 chance. Do you have your answer?
Yeah, and I'm surprised. I thought he was always going to do multiple choice. So this is a good way to switch it up.
I'm going to say true, even though I don't remember.
I'm going to say false.
Let's see what it is.
And the answer is false. Whatley regifted, and then he degifted, and then he used an upstairs invite for a springboard to a Super Bowl sex romp. And if you didn't know that, you're probably a rabid anti-dentite. Back to you guys.
So just like he called us with those false names, the answer was false. And I am back to back. 2 weeks in a row.
I
I've
mean,
got a huge lead. Woo-hoo-hoo!
I feel like I'm just going to be very bad at these questions, just seeing how they're going, because I'm the type of person who, like, I don't remember stuff. Like, I don't remember those, like, trivial facts, like, from shows that I haven't seen in 20 years. Like, I just don't do it. I used to watch Seinfeld a lot. We used to watch it a lot in college. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's true because it seemed like that seemed like something Elaine would do. And obviously I know the character, Tim Whatley. I remember, him being a dentist.
Yeah,
I remember the whole, rabid anti-dentite, storyline. It's a famous episode, but yeah, I just,
sure is.
I didn't remember it in that specific detail. Then I honestly haven't watched Seinfeld in a long time because it used to be my routine to watch it like before dinner. It used to be the reruns used to be on TV, but now you have to like find it on whatever streaming service it's on.
You
It's
hate to
just
see it.
you hate to see
Sounds
it.
like you're making excuses, Mike. So first of all, when you had first said, like, how's he going to come up with this question? You even said maybe he looked up IMDb. So it looks like he did do that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you're correct on that. And then
appreciate
once
that.
once we realized it was a Seinfeld question, I thought, oof, it's over for me. I thought you were going to get this correct, but I
No,
did.
because he's a Seinfeld expert. I mean, I don't know.
But
It's just I don't remember the specific plot
oh
details of
well,
episodes like that. I don't know how people do that, like memorize that kind of trivia. I guess if you see the episode 20 times, maybe you do. But I don't know. I've probably seen that episode 2 or 3 times, but haven't seen it in like 20 years. So,
well, let's see what you can do, Mike. You're down 2-0
I just
or 0-2,
a
whatever
little
it is.
constructive criticism. I,
Hey, don't criticize because you got it wrong.
I mean, these questions are like expert. These are the kind of questions that you would get if you went to Seinfeld trivia night at a bar.
But you've gone to trivia shows, right? Or
Yeah,
events. I've never gone to
and I
one.
didn't do particularly good at it. I think the questions should be more like Jeopardy questions. Like, you know how like
Ugh.
when you're watching Jeopardy, there every once in a while there'll be like a video game topic or like a pro wrestling topic or a sports topic. You'll go 5 for 5, but the questions will be easy for people who like those things. But like for general audiences, the questions might be very difficult. So I think that's kind of the difficulty that it should be.
Like I said, you're making excuses.
All right, so I am now 0 for 4. You are 2 for 4.
That's right.
I've got some catching up to do.
Thank you,
Uh,
Cast, for another great question.
Thank you, Cast. Don't take it too harsh. I'm just a little
Salty.
salty, exactly.
But I mean, the last 2 weeks have been great. Keep on bringing questions like that where I get them right.
Yeah, well, how about some
So,
easier questions?
all right. So let's get into our next segment, which I'm going to hand the reins to you because I did it last time. So why don't you kick off our 60-second setup?
Okay, 60-second setup. The movie of the week is The Sheep Detectives. Hugh Jackman plays a shepherd in rural England, in a rural community called Denbrook. He's got a big piece of property where he tends to his sheep, lives in a small trailer or caravan, I think they call it. He loves his sheep. He names each and every one of them. He only sells their wool. He doesn't sell them off to be butchered for meat. They're his friends, and he reads it to them at the end of every day. Reads them specifically murder mysteries, and they love these murder mysteries. And they each of the sheep is portrayed by a voice actor. They don't speak to the human characters, but they speak to one another, sort of like a movie like Homeward Bound. And that they become quite good at figuring out how these murder mysteries are going to end um, before he gets to the end of the book. Now, spoiler alert, although it's not a spoiler because the trailers reveal this, George does get murdered early on in the movie. Uh, he's poisoned to death. We see him collapsing outside his trailer and dying on the ground. We're introduced to several characters in the town who might have a motive. There's an innkeeper. We're shown stealing a letter that George had intended to mail to a woman in the United States. There's a priest that we're shown George handing a large sum of money to. He doesn't like the butcher, and the butcher doesn't like him because the butcher, you know, kills and sells lamb meat. And there's a tenant who leases land from George, who's another farmer who George doesn't renew his lease, so there's some beef there. So there's a number of characters who have a motive to murder George that we're introduced to. There's a journalist who comes to town who is reporting on this very lackluster uh, um, town fair and ends up extending his stay to help the police officer solve the murder. And behind the scenes, the sheep are helping solve the murder and giving them clues. And the movie goes from there. I realized I went way over a minute, but there was a lot.
Yes.
There's a lot to get in there.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a 60-second setup, 60 seconds or less.
It's probably like 3 minutes.
If you edit this and I added a spoiler, you did not do this in less than 60 seconds. But job well done. I think our viewers now know what this film was all about
All right, thank
or the
you.
premise.
So that brings us to the next segment, initial reactions. Why don't you give us your initial reactions to this movie, Sid?
All right, I will do that. So I don't have to explain what initial reactions are because they are initial reactions.
No
You know,
spoilers.
no spoilers. That is correct. So initially, I enjoyed this film. I'm all about like a who done it movie or who's the murderer type of movie, especially because recently a very popular series is Knives Out. So I'm a big fan of the Knives Out series, and I don't know if a fourth one's ever going to come out. So I was really looking forward to this one. I was hoping it'd be a nice mystery like Knives Out, but at the end of the day, like I said earlier, I enjoyed this film. It was definitely needed because the last movie we saw, in my opinion, wasn't that great. So I'm glad that we saw a movie that I thoroughly enjoyed.
All right, Sid, that was nice and concise. I found this movie to be a delight. It's a nice blend of comedy, mystery, some dramatic moments that'll tug at your heartstrings. I think this is a movie that is, I've talked about before, it's a true four quadrant movie that's going to appeal to pretty much everyone. The only audience who you might have to think about whether you show this movie to is very little children. I think kids are going to love this movie, and it's very appropriate for most children. But the movie does um, deal with the topic of death, of murder. So, that's a heavy subject, although I think the movie handles that subject very tactfully. And if your child isn't at an age where you think they're mature enough to deal with this, I think this is actually a movie that handles that heavy topic very well. So I think it's actually a good movie to show to children on that topic. I remember when we were kids, we were infamously, or a lot of us were infamously shown the movie The Land Before Time, where a lot of characters are killed off in very traumatic fashion. And I remember seeing that movie when I was like 3 years old. So
What I don't even know what that movie is.
you don't remember it's an animated movie about dinosaurs? You've never
It's
seen The Land Before Time?
I guess I have now I think about it.
And yeah, a lot of millennials talk about how traumatic that movie was as kids. So this movie's not traumatic at all. And yeah, I just thought it was a delight. I had a great time watching it.
Well said, Mike. Like you said, that's a good point you made because just like the sheep in this film, they don't know what death is. They think that sheep don't die, and then they eventually learn that they do in fact die.
Yeah.
So I could see how the person who wrote this was trying to actually teach little kids about life and death and all that stuff.
Yep. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit more depth in another section.
Sounds good. So let's get into our next segment, our hate to see it.
All right.
And I'm just going to say, so this is a section where you and I give potentially two things that we did not like from this film.
That's exactly right. And from this point on, there are going to be spoilers. And my hate to see it's both of them. I have two of them. We're going to have heavy spoilers. So that's a warning. This movie is a movie mystery, murder mystery. I am going to reveal the culprit in my hate to see it. So I don't think there's any other way to do it. So, if you haven't seen the movie and you're
Skip
concerned about
Deception.
that, you should skip this. Take advantage of the chapter feature and skip to the verdict where we give our final thoughts, and there will be no spoilers in that segment. With that spiel out of the way, I'll give my first hate to see it, which, you mentioned the Knives Out franchise, and I had a complaint about the most recent movie, Wake Up Dead Man, and kind of the same thing happens in this movie. So I thought it was only fair that I bring it up. I complained about Blanc kind of just explaining everything that happened at the end of the movie without the viewer really being able to solve the whole murder. And I think that kind of happens in this movie as well. The police officer played by Nicholas Braun, who we both know from Succession, he is aided by the sheep in solving the murder, and he connects a lot of dots pretty easily, I think, at the end of the movie when he's explaining the murder. And he's also shown to be a very dim-witted character. So it's like, how are you connecting all these dots? I'm not even connecting all these dots. Uh, that was kind of a flaw in the movie. I don't think it hurts the movie too much because that's not really the thrust of the movie. And it does make sense for the most part. I mean, the sheep present him with this clue of the victim George's one of his hands is blue, which we know is from this medicine that he treats the sheep with, and
And
his
what was that
other
disease? Do you remember? I forget what it's
it's
called.
called Orf,
Orf.
and the other hand is green, and we don't know why he has a green hand, or a
Yellow?
it's green, it's
Is
green,
it green? Yeah, it is
yes,
green.
and the sheep figure out that if you mix blue with yellow, you get green, and they present Tim, this police officer, with buckets of paint that demonstrate how you can get green, and then Tim deduces that uh, he gets a green hand by having a struggle with this reporter who had blonde hair. So you have to assume that he had blonde dye in his hair, which I don't think the movie really ever established that he dyes his hair blonde. So that's a stretch. And we learn, and this is the big spoiler in the so I'm spoiling the whole thing. We learn that the reporter is actually George's son. He had two children, twins, a girl, a woman, and a man. And the man is this reporter who's not in the whole movie, or at least we don't think he is. He's supposed to be in South Africa, and he orchestrates the whole thing. He poisons his father and forges a will and frames his sister, who was adopted to another family, by bequeathing $30 million that George made from creating a treatment for this sheep
Oof.
disease, Orf.
Orf.
Yeah, so she looks like she's the one who did it because in this new will, she's bequeathed $30 million. So she looks like the main suspect. And then
Yep.
he is able to, once she is not able to inherit that money, because you can't inherit, if you murder someone, you can't inherit money. And that was also a topic in that movie that we saw, how to make a killing. So he would be the next in line because he's next to kin. So he's able to figure that all out. And I just thought there was too much explaining there, even though it does make sense. For the
And
most
it,
part, there's
yeah,
actually a plot hole that I'll get to. But that's what I hate to see it.
yeah, no, I agree. For a doofus character like that to all of a sudden connect all the dots seemed far-fetched. So I give you that.
Yeah, and I had see, my working theory was there's a lawyer played by Emma Thompson, and she seems kind of suspicious to me.
Yeah, she
And
did. They wanted you to think that.
and we know that there's this son who in South Africa, but he's not in the movie. So and also when his will is read, George says that there are two murderers, which we later find out what that means. It's a joke, but at the time I thought there were co-conspirators. So
But wait,
I thought
George is the main character, right?
yes.
Wait, what do you mean? I forget this part. George, the guy that's dead, says there's two murderers.
In his will, he says that two of the people that are present at the reading of the will are murderers. Two,
Oh, that's right.
and he's referring to the butcher and the other shepherd because
Oh,
he
yes,
calls them murderers because they kill sheep. So it's kind of
yes.
a joke. But I thought that my theory was that there were co-conspirators. I thought the lawyer was helping out the adopted son So I thought,
Okay.
she was the one who's like came up with this plan because she's a
Plan.
lawyer. She would know what to put in the will, and then the adopted son was not actually present. So I thought they were working together. That was my theory. And
It's a good theory, Mike.
and so I don't know. Did you figure it out ahead of time?
I did not. I did not figure it out. But the will thing, when he said it's two murderers, I think they're
Yeah.
just trying to throw us off the scent.
Oh, I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a lot
But
of things they did to throw us off the scent.
cool. So I'm gonna go next. I'm gonna talk
Yep.
about one of the things that I disliked from this film. And so really with this film, the sheep characters were great.
Hmm.
All the actors that played the sheep did a tremendous job. But honestly, I felt the sheep were more developed than the actual human characters.
Oh, for sure.
So and maybe that's by choice, but I thought a lot of the human characters were kind of weak, a little disappointing. There wasn't a lot of meat to these characters, and we didn't spend too much time learning about these characters. I think Knives Out does a little better job at times. Maybe not the third one, but the other films, it does a better job of expanding on the other characters in this film and their film. But that was my big complaint, that the sheep were much better characters, more developed. You connected more with the sheep. You pulled from more for the sheep, and the human characters were just there to advance the story.
Well, the movie's called The Sheep Detectives, not The Human
That's true.
Detectives.
That is true. But that was my complaint. I wanted more humans.
All right. I guess you just wanted a different movie. You could have
No,
saved
no,
that.
I'm saying the sheep were great. I agree with
Mhm.
that. I just thought like it could be a balance. You could have both, right? You don't have to sacrifice one to make the other better.
Okay. I don't think I have that complaint, but I hear what you're saying. Um, I have another hate to see it, and it ties into my first one. There's actually a pretty big plot hole in this movie. Um, Going back to the whole thing with the will, um, the 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 son, the adopted son from South Africa, is supposed to be next of kin. He's supposed to inherit because the his adopted sister is not going to inherit because she's going to be framed for the murder. That's how it's supposed to work. However, when you put your child up for adoption and they are adopted by another family, there's loss of kinship. The adopted son would never inherit unless he was specifically named in the will. So that's a plot hole in the movie.
I'm glad you brought that up. So
Hmm.
you passed your bar exam where in New Jersey?
Yes.
So the thing is, you're not a British expert, right?
Well, but so yeah, there theoretically could be some law that applies, but we get our common law from England. I would be highly surprised if there was some law that allowed this adopted son to inherit.
Well, let me tell you something, Mike. So
Unless,
I took a lot of
yeah,
online courses to become a lawyer in England.
did you?
I'm just bullshitting you. But no, that I didn't think of that.
Hmm.
I'm glad that you are a lawyer
Hmm.
and that you could
Oh,
point it out to our viewers because that is a big plot hole.
yeah.
So
And if
it,
I'm wrong, I don't think I'm wrong, but if I'm wrong, I'd love to hear about it in the
no,
comments.
no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well done, Mike. I
Hmm.
think our viewers will appreciate that.
All right. Do you have any other hate to see it?
I sure do. I try to go 2 for 2.
Okay.
And again, this is a good film, in my opinion. And we'll get more into that later. So it's kind of struggling to find things that you disliked with this film or I disliked. But the one thing I disliked, and again, it's by they did this for a reason. They kill off Hugh Jackman's character purely, right?
Yes.
And he's probably, I would say he's the biggest character actor in this film, right? In the
Yeah.
sense, I mean, they do have other really good characters, but he's a big name. He's a big draw.
Right.
So I have no complaints with that. Makes sense as part of the story. And what I'm complaining about is I wish there were more flashbacks. Now they did have a couple flashbacks, but when you have an actor like Hugh Jackman, give us more scenes. Show more about like why he decided to give up his 2 children. Maybe they did. Maybe I missed it, but I
Yeah,
feel like
that's actually a good one. That they could have shown that in flashback. Yeah.
yeah. So I could have used more flashbacks with the tremendous actor Hugh Jackman.
Yeah,
I
so
thought
they did explain that his wife died in childbirth and he was
correct.
poor, so that's why he put his children, they were twins, he put them up for adoption just because he couldn't afford to take care of them by himself. But yeah, that could have been a good flashback scene.
Yeah.
I agree with you there.
Yeah, they could have. I mean, the conclusion of the film, I think, would have been stronger if they did show us more flashbacks to kind of tie everything together.
All right, I think I'm with you there. That's a good one.
Cool. Appreciate it.
I don't have any others.
All right. So that concludes our hate to see it. So let's do the opposite, Mike. Let's get right into our love to see it.
All right, I'll kick it off. My first love to see it was figuring out over the course of the movie who was in the voice cast because I didn't take a look at the voice cast ahead of time, and it was very fun figuring out who these voice actors were. Did you know ahead of time who was in the cast?
I did not.
Okay, so
I mean, I knew the human. I knew obviously Hugh, and then I
yeah.
also knew the police officer.
Right. Okay. So I didn't know anyone in the cast in the who for the sheep, the voices of the sheep. The first one, which was I thought, pretty easy to figure out, was Julia Louis-Dreyfus, voices the main sheep, Lily.
You know what's
Uh
funny? I did not know that till after the movie. So I failed that one, which, like you're saying, it was obvious. So I'm disappointed in myself that I did not know that one.
and then the voice of Sebastian, the main ram,
Yes.
it was bothering me for most of the movie, and it finally clicked that it was Bryan Cranston for me, and I was very satisfied when I figured that out.
So
Did you figure?
that one I figured out probably the first word he said. I knew that one really quickly. The other ones were more of a struggle for me.
Okay, yeah, I didn't figure that out until, somewhere around the halfway point of the movie. Then the other main sheep is a sheep named Mopple, and Mopple is this, I guess, sort of wise sheep because all the sheep they believe that when you die, you become a cloud,
Cloud.
and whenever they see something traumatic like a person or sheep dying, they collectively forget the hurtful memories. And Mopple doesn't do this, so he remembers all the deaths and all the traumatic things. And his voice was very familiar to me, and I was trying to figure it out the whole movie, and I could not figure it out. I had to actually see the credits. Did you see who the voice was of that sheep?
I did not. Who was it?
The actor's name is Chris O'Dowd, who I like
Oh, who I love.
from
Actually,
the IT
yes.
Crowd and
Yep.
I think Bridesmaids, and he's in a lot of stuff. So yeah, he's got a great voice,
He
a great
does.
great performance in the movie. Yeah, that bothered me that I couldn't figure that out. There's these two twin Ram characters, minor characters, but I instantly recognized
Well,
Brett
not too
Goldstein.
minor, but
Not too minor. I instantly
yeah.
recognized Brett Goldstein from
Yep.
Ted Lasso, but I didn't realize he was voicing both of them.
Both of them,
Did
yes.
you know that?
No, I did not.
Because one of them sounds just like Brett
Yep.
Goldstein, and the other one is a little different. So I
Yep.
didn't realize that.
That
And
was
then
well
also
played.
there's a sheep who I just totally didn't know until I was watching the credits. Patrick Stewart was the voice of one of the sheep.
What? Which one?
The one, I believe it's the one who had that disease Orf, like he shows his tongue to the other sheep, and they're kind of a minor role.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But that was Patrick Stewart, and I didn't recognize it the whole movie.
Nice.
So that was fun. I thought the voice cast was great. It was fun figuring out who they all were.
Cool.
Love to see it.
Love to see it.
How
So
about
for
you?
me, I talked about this in my initial reactions. I just loved another murder mystery. You know,
Yeah.
I always have that itch for Knives Out. You know, it's always good to be in a movie where you're trying to guess who did it, who's the murderer, who was the thief, yada yada yada. So I really enjoyed that aspect, and it was done much more differently than we traditionally expect. Usually, it's CGI, right? The sheep, I would think. Usually, you don't have like CGI characters trying to solve the mystery. So
Yeah.
that was a nice spin on things. Yeah, it was just a concept I never thought would exist. I never thought we'd use animals with human characters to have this huge mystery that the animals help solve. And it's a because most mystery films or who films where someone kills someone, you have to guess who the killer is not going to be a film for kids,
Right.
right? So this one it actually is, and I could see it being good for kids as well because it gets their brains thinking. They're trying to figure things out, so it'll test for them. So it worked. It worked on all cylinders for me.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sid. And also just to mention, as you did, the animation. I thought the animation was really good for the sheep. Obviously, the rest of it is live action, but I thought the sheep were really well animated. They look pretty realistic, but they're voiced. And a lot of times when animated movies go for this very realistic looking style and the animated characters have voices, like for instance, the so-called live action remake
Hmm.
of The Lion King, I think it looks kind of creepy, kind of weird, kind of
Yeah,
off-putting, but this movie did not for me, was not. I thought the animation was great.
it was.
And then also launching off from what you were talking about, it leads me to my second love to see it. And you talked about like this being a good movie for children, having a nice message, and that's my love to see it. I think this really has a nice, wholesome message to it. We've talked about the theme of death and how it addresses that heavy subject in a very gentle, delicate fashion that I think is going to be great for a lot of kids. It also deals with things like the importance of remembering, even when something is traumatic. It's great to remember these moments. But you can't just forget about things that may be hurtful, because then you're also going to be forgetting about the things about that person or whatever it might be that you love about that person, and it's all intertwined. So I think that's a great message, and also it has a very nice light touch message about um, inclusion and not excluding people, or in this case, animals, arbitrarily from the group. It does that through the character of this winter lamb,
Yeah.
and also the Sebastian character, who himself was also a winter lamb. So there's a bunch of nice messages in the movie.
So the guy who I believe wrote this, he's the guy who also did Chernobyl. He's also part of the Last of Us TV series.
Right, quite a different turn for him here.
Yeah, quite a different turn, but you could tell these are themes that probably were dear to him that he wanted to show off in the movie, and this was the perfect film to do that.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
And I think you already covered this, but the different personalities of the sheep, that's going to be my next love to see it. Like I said earlier with the thing I disliked, I really loved the sheep. The sheep were great. Like you said, the actors that played the sheep did a tremendous job. Usually, not usually, but when you go into this film and you know it's about sheep, you're going to be kind of like, is this going to be good? Like, what kind of personalities can sheep have? Like, how do you make each sheep character different from one another? But they succeeded. They made each sheep feel different. They had their own personality traits. They all brought their different strengths and weaknesses to the film. So, in my opinion, and I think you'd agree, they did a really good job writing different personalities and making the sheep look like those different personalities.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of great sheep-related humor in the movie.
Yes, there were.
So yeah, the movie did a good job with all the different personalities. Absolutely. All right, I don't have any other love to see it.
I do not. So let's transition to our next segment, our what if segment. So for our viewers, again, I don't want to assume that we have the same viewers every week. So for new viewers out there, this is the time where you and I change something in the film, whether it's the characters, whether it's the plot. So this week, I'm going to change two of the sheep, actually.
Okay.
And it wasn't necessary. I think from this review, we both indicated that the actors playing the sheep, portraying the sheep, did a tremendous job.
Yeah, I thought so.
So you really don't have to replace anyone. But I remember this interview I watched from this comedian who's a midget, comedian/actor, Brad Williams. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not. But
not ringing a bell.
So he's a midget, like I said earlier. And during this interview, he's talking about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Oh, okay. I might know what you're talking about.
And what he's really upset about, and a lot of midgets are upset about, is how
I think we're supposed to call them little people.
I forget. But no, the midgets like to be called midgets.
Okay. I can't speak for midgets or little people, so I'll take your word for it.
No, it's true. And they actually reference that in wrestling pay-per-view. Maybe WrestleMania, whatever. I don't want to digress too far. But anyway, so Peter Dinklage was saying they shouldn't cast midgets as the Seven Dwarfs.
Right. I remember this.
So then they ended up doing like CGI or something.
CGI characters. Yeah,
Yep.
That was pretty controversial.
Very controversial because he's taking away jobs from other midgets.
Right.
So
and he's been very successful. He's had a very successful he's one of the only household name actors that is a little person, right? So he's been very successful, but most of these actors are not people you've ever heard of. And they need that kind of work, and they
need it. They need that work.
Actually, caused them to lose work.
Yes.
Yep.
So what Brad Williams was saying was Peter Dinklage is in one of the worst films ever made. I don't know if it makes fun, but it puts midgets to a bad light. It was called Tiptoes.
So I know exactly the interview. Was this interview with the comedian? Who's that guy? Was this interview with the comedian and his wife?
Potentially, he's done several interviews about this kind of.
Okay, all right.
So he's got a beef, but we've probably seen the same interview.
Mm-hmm.
But what he was trying to say is Peter Dinklage is in this movie Tiptoes, where the midget in the film is played by Gary Oldman.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's actually like on his knees filming these scenes.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say is this movie takes place in England, right? Like you mentioned earlier.
hmm
And a lot of
I have
the
no idea where you're going with this, Sid. Just for the record, I have no idea where
no,
you're going.
what I'm trying to say is if you have a film in England or Britain and the sheep are British, you should cast British people as the sheep. So that's
Oh,
one of the beef I had. Again, nothing to
well,
take
some of
away
them
from
were British. You had
some of them,
Brett
yes.
Goldstein, you had Patrick
Yes.
Stewart.
Yeah.
Chris O'Dowd is Irish, but I think that's
Yep.
fair.
But why not do them all, right? Like why stop there?
Okay.
So one was Sebastian.
I did not know that's where you were going to go with this. I had no idea. Okay.
So hopefully I did a decent job. But I was like,
hmm
stick with the Brits. So Gary Oldman, who I mentioned earlier, he could have been a great Sebastian in my mind.
hmm
Right? Have you seen his show, his British show? What's it called? I think you've seen the first couple seasons or the first season where
Yeah,
he's like, whatever the name is. But I thought he would have been fantastic as Sebastian.
of
Like
course.
Bryan Cranston, he's as American as they get.
hmm
Right? Like, why do we have Bryan Cranston playing the sheep? Like, the other thing is, like, from what
Could
I've
have had
heard,
you could have had Ian McKellen, right?
yeah, you could have had Ian, exactly.
Yeah.
So my thing is, like, from what I've heard, Bryan Cranston, like, usually turns down these roles. So I was really shocked that he took this role. I know the show
hmm
Invincible, which I started watching this weekend. He's turned down several times to be on that show as an animated character. So that's one of my first one, Gary Oldman.
Okay.
And the next one is
Lily, I guess you got to recast, right?
yeah, you got to yeah. Who would you cast as
I
Lily?
I, I just thinking Emma Watson.
Perfect. That would be great, actually.
Yeah.
Well, good job, Mike. So the other one was Wool Eyes, which I don't think we talked about
We have not
earlier.
really talked about Will Eyes, yeah. I don't remember who voiced that character actually.
So it's a guy from New Zealand, Reese Darby.
Okay,
Again,
I don't even know who
nothing,
that is.
nothing wrong with his
I mean,
performance.
New Zealand, it's a Commonwealth country, so kind of, you
Isn't it
know,
so far away?
it is, yeah.
But anyway, I would have picked Ricky Gervais
Okay.
because Ricky Gervais loves animals. He's a
Mhm.
huge animal fan. He's done animated stuff before. He's got a Netflix series coming out in August called Alley Cats, which I'm really excited about. But I would have casted Ricky Gervais in this
Ricky
film.
Gervais would have been great in this movie.
Yep. So
Yeah.
those are my two what ifs
All right. I didn't really. You asked me
about Lily.
about what if, and I didn't even want to do this segment because I thought the cast was great. But you did just give me a couple ideas. I did think
Sure,
Emma
let's go
Watson
for
would
it.
be a good. No, just I already mentioned them. Emma Watson and Ian McKellen. I think would have
Okay.
been good as well.
Fun segment.
All right, Sid. I think that means it's time for our last segment, the verdict.
Let's do it, Mike. Let's conclude our great episode on the Sheep Detectives, and let's tell the viewers what our final verdict is.
Why don't you kick it off, Sid?
I was hoping you'd go first because my cat's going crazy. He's trying to
That's
jump on
fine.
me.
I'm
So why
happy
don't
to
you
do
do it?
that. Yeah, the verdict, it's where we give our final thoughts, review, and rating of the movie. Uh, Sid, I don't know if this is going to surprise you or not, because we've been pretty positive on the movie so far. This movie is actually my second favorite movie of the year, behind only Project Hail Mary. I thought it was just a great blend of comedy, mystery, some really nice emotional moments, dramatic moments in the movie. Um, some of the comedic moments were really funny that we didn't really touch on. I think we touched on a lot, but just to highlight some of the funny moments. There's a scene early on in the movie, shortly after George's murder, where the butcher uh, visits George's property because he wants to purchase it, and he's counting the sheep. And as he's counting the sheep, he starts to become sleepy and falls asleep. So it's a joke about how when you want to fall asleep, you count sheep. It's just silly little jokes like that. Throughout the movie, the sheep show up in unexpected places in the town because they're investigating the murder, and they'll just like baa at the human characters. Just like that kind of stuff always cracked me up. There's a funny scene later on in the movie where the little lamb, the winter lamb, uh, sneaks into the jail that the daughter is being kept in because she has been arrested because she has been framed for the murder, and he's got like blue paint on his paws and is leaving paint everywhere and is dropping off these paint cans that are supposed to be the final clue to solve the murder, and the woman is just watching this all take place in front of her. Just a bizarre scene, just very funny. So yeah, the movie's really funny. I touched a lot about I think the movie just has a great message. As I mentioned, I think it, deals with the heavy subject of death in a very tactful manner. I just think it's a crowd-pleasing movie for everyone. It was a delightful surprise to me. Even though I thought from the trailers it was going to be a good movie, I didn't think it was going to be this good. I truly loved to see this movie. I give it 4.5 stars.
So you scared me for a second, Mike, because I thought you were saying like I've been very positive about this film, and I thought you were going to be like, I hate to see it.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought you were going to go the opposite direction. I was going to be like, what?
I
Because
didn't, yeah, okay.
no, because that's what I thought you were trying to do. Because I was like, wait a second, because I love to see this film. I truly love to see this film.
Okay.
So you and I are back on the same page. We both love this film, and I agree with you, Mike. Where even though I guess half the year is almost done, right? Even though half the year is done, like this is one of the films which is going to be one of the best films of the year, and it already is. And we got some big bangers coming up later this year, but I think when it's all said and done, this is going to be one of the top 4 films of the year.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I mean, that would be great if it is. I think it's going to be in the top 10. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe.
but 4.5 is a great rating for you, Mike. I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
gonna be like a top 5 if you think about it. Unless, well, who knows? We'll see.
And there's been a number of other good movies that I've really liked this movie. Like Michael, I liked a lot. And
you did. Oh, you love Michael.
Hoppers, I liked a lot. And this movie, I think, is better than both. Even those movies are great. This movie's even better than those movies.
That's high praise from you, Mike. And I just gotta compliment you. You do a really good job always giving your final verdict on
I
films.
appreciate that,
You're
too.
you're very thorough in these segments. So, like I said earlier, I love murder mysteries, right? And there's that, and I think we've talked about this before, but there's that board game that people used to play with. Was it kind of like a murder mystery? What was that called? I forget
Clue.
the name of it. Clue.
Which interesting little trivia is known as Cluedo everywhere except for the United States. You go
Oh,
to
really?
Europe, you go to Europe, you buy the board game. For some reason, it's called Cluedo. I don't know why.
Pluto, like Pluto?
Yeah,
That's bizarre.
well, with a D, but yeah, rhymes with Pluto.
So the thing is, Mike, murder mysteries or murder mystery games, you don't play alone for the most part, right? You play with a group of people.
Yeah,
So Knives Out, for the most part, I think that's a film you could see with your family, with other people. But there's some elements of that film that you may not want to take everyone to go see. With this film, there's no one that you would disinclude from this film. You could take virtually any family member to go see this film. It's meant for everyone.
except for real little kids. But yeah,
But really little kids, you're not gonna take anyway, right?
right.
So it's a movie to see by all. It's a good movie that where you can discuss afterwards, like, hey, what were the things? Who'd you think was the killer? Like you can have those discussions. But it was really well done. And this guy has we mentioned him earlier, he's got a great pedigree. So it's no surprise that this guy put out another banger. And then, again, it was really the opposite of the things he's previously done. So that was a nice thing to see.
Yep.
But yeah, I really enjoyed this film. It had a lot of great elements. It's not the perfect film. There were things that you and I disliked.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, the message that he's trying to show throughout the characters, throughout the film, is a really good message.
Yeah.
So with that said, I'd give it 4.5 stars as well. You truly love to see it. It's a film where you're going to overlook the minor negatives because of what it is at the end of the day, how great of a film it is. And it's a film that you could rewatch.
Absolutely. I think this is a movie I'm going to be revisiting. I absolutely do. And you mentioned, just to piggyback a little bit off, a movie that has few negatives. One of the negatives that we didn't get into, I think the movie is a little bit of a slow starter. I think it takes a little bit of time to get into its groove. But once the Sebastian character started to be featured more prominently, and we're not going to get into spoilers because we're in the verdict, but there's a very emotionally heavy scene with Sebastian in the movie. And once that scene happened, I was like, wow, this movie is really good. This movie is something special.
It is a special film. It touches a lot of the elements that you need to make a great film.
Yeah, all right, Sid. This was a really fun movie to talk about. It was a really nice surprise. I'm really glad we put it on our schedule because this was not necessarily something that we would automatically review.
Well, it's funny because when I first saw the trailer of this film, I'm like, well, Mike liked this movie. Is this a movie you're not going to review? And things are starting to pick up, right? Good movies are starting to come out. Like you said, I'm glad we watched this film and we reviewed this film.
Me too. So what's up next on Hate to See It next week, Sid?
It's a big one. It's Mandalorian and Grogu.
It is. Star Wars is my all-time favorite franchise across all media, whether it comes to movies, TV, books, comics, video games. I love Star Wars. So
So
I'm
that
excited for this, but I'm nervous about it.
Yeah, I've already seen some reactions of the press, the in the media who've seen that film. But a lot of people that are huge Star Wars fans came out saying it's a great film. So I'm curious to see what you have to say, knowing that you are a major Star Wars fan.
Yep, I'll be seeing it opening night along with you. I usually don't
Oh,
see movies
nice.
on Thursdays, but I have my ticket for Thursday.
What kind of theater?
Dolby
Dolby?
Dolby Digital or
Yeah,
Dolby
same here.
Cinema. I've heard it's really good on IMAX though, but I don't have a really good IMAX premium screen. Like I have the LiMAX, so I'll see it on Dolby. I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah, they're showing a lot of commercials for this, a lot of trailers, a lot of advertisements. I'm very excited.
All right, so that's what we're bringing you next week. We hope you enjoyed our review of The Sheep Detectives and look forward to our review of The Mandalorian and Grogu next week. Thanks, Sid.
Thank you, Mike. Till next time.
Till next time. Bye, guys.